The island of Timor is currently divided in two parts. The west is part of the Republic of Indonesia, with provincial capital in Kupang, while the east, whose capital is Dili since its independence, had been a Portuguese territory since the 16th century. When the first traders and missionaries reached the coast of Timor in 1515, the island was organized in small states, ruled by two kingdoms, Sorbian and Belos, who practiced animism. Islam, a religion that is still prevalent in Indonesia, has never reached Timor. Even Buddhism, extensively practiced in Java, especially in the 13th century, did not prevail. During the third quarter of the 16th century, the first Portuguese Dominican priests arrived in Timor and started developing a progressive religious influence, even as the Portuguese domination was still being settled. Culture developed in an opposite direction to that of today's Indonesian islands of Java and Sumatra, and of the coasts of Kalimantan and Sulawesi, where Islam was the dominant religion. In 1651, the Dutch invaded Kupang in the western end of the island of Timor, and took control of half of its territory. In 1859, the Dutch concluded a treaty with Portugal to determine the border between the Portuguese Timor, present-day Timor-Leste, and the Dutch Timor, Western Timor. Upon Indonesian independence in 1945, Western Timor was integrated into its territory. Timor-Leste during the Second World War. During the Second World War, the Allies, Australians, and Dutch, aware of the strategic position of Timor, established positions in the territory and got involved in bitter fighting with the Japanese forces. Some tens of thousands of Timorese lost their lives while fighting side by side with the Allies. In 1945, the Portuguese administration was restored in Timor-Leste. Right to self-determination. Between 1945 and June 1974, the Indonesian government, in compliance with international law, affirmed at the United Nations and to the outside world that it had no territorial ambitions towards East Timor. Based on Resolution 1514, from December 14, 1960, Timor-Leste was considered by the United Nations a non-autonomous territory under Portuguese administration. From 1962 until 1973, the UN General Assembly approved successive resolutions, recognizing Timor-Leste's right to self-determination, as well as of the other two existing Portuguese colonies. Ancient. Timor-Leste, East Timor, has a rich history and culture developed over centuries. Archaeological evidence of Neolithic settlement in caves in Tutuala dates as far back as 35,000 years ago. The early Austronesian hunter-gatherer arrivals were later joined by Asian migrants who introduced agriculture. Over time, Timor-Leste became divided into a number of small kingdoms of complex hierarchical social organization with strategic marital alliances, laws on land use, and the exchange of tribute. Fighting between the different kinship groups disrupted the relatively stable patterns of land use and marriages between clans. Colonialism. From as early as the 13th century, there are records of visiting Javanese and Chinese traders drawn by sandalwood, honey, and wax. In the early 16th century, European settlers began arriving. West Timor was colonized by the Dutch, while Timor-Leste became a Portuguese colony for over 400 years. Portuguese governance took advantage of forming alliances where they could with the existing traditional political structures based on kinship systems which were self-governing. While the Portuguese introduced coffee production, along with sugarcane and cotton, their rule was also a time of periodic bloody uprisings as they raised local taxes and used forced labor in construction plantations. Missionaries soon followed, spreading the Catholic faith. As the colonists were mostly concerned with trading and for the best part concentrated their presence around the coast, the traditional lifestyle and animist beliefs of most Timorese remained preserved in the hinterland and were relatively unchanged well into the 20th century. Independence. On October 25, 1999, the UN Security Council established the United Nations Transitional Administration in Timor-Leste. UNTAT, as an integrated multi-dimensional peacekeeping operation responsible for the administration of Timor-Leste during its transition to independence. In 2001, Timor-Leste had its first free elections for representatives who were charged with writing a new constitution. In 2002, the country regained its independence and became the world's newest democracy and the first new country of the third millennium. Since that time, and with relative calm in recent years, Timor-Leste's primary focus has been on national development. People and culture. Society. Timorese are incredibly hospitable, gregarious, and some of the friendliest you'll ever encounter. Celebrations held at national and community levels are many and vibrant. Timorese society is also conservative and traditional, with a strong focus on family, the community, and religion. Population. With a population of around 1.3 million, Timorese are linked closely. At the same time, the country's identity is composed of many indigenous groups, each with its own language and cultural practices. Tetun is the largest of these, accounting for approximately 25% of the population. They live around Dili, Suai, and Vikekwe. Mambai make up a further 10% and are found in the central mountains. Other groups include the Kemak, Bunak, and Fataluku, amongst others, each accounting for 5% or less. Language. Timor-Leste, East Timor, has many spoken languages reflecting past migration, colonialism, and other occupation. Tetun and Portuguese languages have been given official status, with Indonesian and English considered working languages. Another 15 or more indigenous languages also are spoken. Settlement. The capital of Dili is a modern developing city, offering a wide range of services and amenities for residents and visitors. While many Timorese are drawn to the capital seeking employment, 70% still live in rural areas. These Timorese mostly reside in small towns and remote villages and practice a subsistence fishing and farming lifestyle. Religion. Around 90% of Timorese identify as Roman Catholic, and the remainder mostly as Protestant, Muslim, and Hindu. In spite of this, animism continues to be a persuasive force in most people's everyday lives. Observing the way animist and religious beliefs are seamlessly blended is one of the interesting aspects of holidaying in this country. Culture. Timorese cultural heritage is multi-layered, a fascinating combination of traditional Timorese, Portuguese, Chinese, and Indonesian influences. This permeates their local architecture, cuisine, clothing styles, and artistic endeavors. Timorese culture continues to evolve in local arts and handicrafts, as well as in dance and music. Cultural motifs, both old and modern, are incorporated into the design of ties, hand-woven textiles, basketwork, and wood carving. Cultural groups still perform traditional dances and songs, and also are entertaining in new ways. Talented Timorese bands and dance groups perform in local venues and at festivals. Architecture. There is a fair amount of architectural variety in Timor-Leste, East Timor, since each ethnic group have their own traditions and customs. However, nearly all architecture has been constructed of wood, so few buildings have lasted to the present, and much of what stands today is from the past century, other than a few structures. Early, and still the most traditional, architecture in Timor-Leste is the totem house. Examples of these constructions are found all across the country, but vary from one region and ethnic background to another. Umalulik also means spirit houses because they hold the spirits of ancestors of the family that owns it. They were rebuilt every 10 years to help renew the community's connection to its forebears and its land. Also, there are few Portuguese-styled buildings in Timor-Leste, coming from the Portuguese legacy. Most of these buildings in this style are churches or buildings in the capital of Dili. Following on Portuguese tradition of building from stone, concrete, and other more solid substances, today the country has a fair amount of modern buildings made primarily from concrete and glass. Sport. Timorese participate in a wide range of sports, including football, which they are extremely passionate about. East Timor has taken part in multiple international sporting events, such as the 2003 Southeast Asian Games held in Vietnam in 2003. In the 2003 ASEAN Paralympics Games, also held in Vietnam, East Timor won a bronze medal. In the Athens 2004 Olympic Games, 6 athletes participated in 3 sports: athletics, weightlifting, and boxing. East Timor won 3 medals in arnis at the 2005 Southeast Asian Games. East Timor was one of the competing nations in the first Lusophony Games, winning a bronze medal in the women's volleyball competition. On 30 October 2008, East Timor earned their first international points in a FIFA match with a 2-2 draw against Cambodia. Nature and wildlife. Vegetation. Timor-Leste, East Timor, still feels untamed with a wild natural beauty. In many places it seems untouched. Lying climatically in the dry tropics, vegetation varies widely from the damp lower-lying southern plains to the moist and much cooler mountain country, and then to the dry north coast. As a result of the differing microclimates, the vegetation changes quickly as you travel around Timor-Leste. Dry open savanna vegetation to dense forest cover. Between the beaches and headlands, clumps of mangroves dot the coastlines, providing important fish breeding habitat. Animals. With many centuries of habitation and subsistence living, Timor-Leste's larger native mammals and reptiles are reduced in number. That said, monkeys and spotted cuscus, a tree-dwelling marsupial, live in the forests, and there are rusa deer in the highlands. Reptiles include snakes, tokay lizards, one of the world's largest, and many other smaller geckos and skinks. Sea turtles come ashore to lay their eggs, and estuarine crocodiles live in coastal habitats and Lake Ira Laloro. Bats and shrews are also seen. Bird life. Bird life is more prolific and of vital interest to bird watchers. The strange mix of birds has Asian, Australian, and Wallacean origins. Timor-Leste has over 240 species currently recorded, including 23 that are endemic, and more are being added with further research. The richness of Timor-Leste's bird life, both resident and migrating, partly reflects the wide diversity of habitats, from mountain to coast, and the country's geographic location. Timor-Leste still has relatively abundant numbers of some globally threatened species, including the yellow-crested cockatoo, black cuckoo dove, Timor sparrow, and several other pigeon species. Reefs and ocean. Timor-Leste's fringing reefs are pristine and have extraordinary diversity. They lie within the Coral Triangle, which is recognized as the global epicenter of marine biodiversity, as it has the highest coral diversity in the world, with 76% of the world's 805 coral species found there.
For many years, local fishermen have safeguarded their supplies of fish by creating marine protected areas. Communities would agree on the boundaries and ban fishing there. In these areas, fish and coral keep untouched, and a visitor can expect amazing swimming, snorkeling, or diving. One can see reef fish, hard and soft corals, and other species from nudibranchs to seahorses, turtles to manta rays, and if lucky dugongs and even whale sharks. Schooling open water fish species such as tuna, bonito, and mackerel are also encountered. From vividly colored coral bommies in sheltered waters to spectacular drop-offs, Timor-Leste's marine life is some of, if not the best on the planet. Atauro, a small island lying to the north of Dili, has recently been found to have the most biodiverse waters in the world in terms of reef fish. A study conducted in 2016 by Conservation International discovered a total of 642 marine species around the island and saw a maximum of 314 at a single site. The island, with very little cars and only 8,000 inhabitants, can be easily accessed from Dili and offers a truly unique ecotourism experience. Whales and dolphins. Timor-Leste is also regarded as a global hotspot for whales and dolphins due to their abundance, diversity, and sheer density of numbers. They can be spotted year-round, and especially during the migration season, from October to December. At that time, Timor-Leste's deep waters become a major route between the Pacific and Indian Oceans for many different species. Whale species include blue, killer, humpback, short-finned pilot, beaked, melon-headed, and pygmy killer, amongst others. Oceanic dolphins regularly seen include common, bottle-nosed, spinners, spotted, rissos, rough-toothed, and striped. It is not uncommon during the migration to see whales and very large pods of dolphins both close into the shore and from boats, an exhilarating, unforgettable experience. Eating and drinking. Explore the flavors of Timor-Leste. When it comes to dining out, Dili has a wide range of restaurants to choose from, reflecting the many different influences from around the world. You can find everything from Chinese and Portuguese to Indian and Thai cuisine, as well as Turkish, Italian, Japanese, Korean, Indonesian, and Brazilian options. These range from upmarket establishments to more casual eateries. Many of the restaurants have beautiful views out over the water where you can enjoy the sunset. In the evening, food stalls grill fresh seafood along the beachfront, which can be enjoyed with a cold drink while taking in the stunning views. Outside of the capital, in the districts, larger guest houses usually provide meals in-house, and there are other small restaurants, mostly of the warung style. Along the coastal roads, grilled fish stalls are also readily available. 7. Traditional dishes of Timor-Leste. 1. Batar daan. Batar daan is a simple dish that is made using a mixture of mung beans, diced squash, and corn that are cooked together with garlic and onions. The dish is only flavored with pepper and salt and is traditionally consumed as a main course. It is typically served along with rice, but it also makes an amazing side dish when accompanied by fish or meat dishes. It is a vegetarian dish which is considered to be both sweet and savory. 2. Mangosteen. Mangosteen is a tropical plant that is typically cultivated for its sweet fruit. Its origin is believed to be the Sunda Islands, and it is characterized by its solid shell, which shields the consumable white fruit inside. It is generally dark purple on the outside and is also referred to as purple mangosteen. The texture of mangosteen is juicy, delicate, and soft, while it tastes sweet with minor traces of tartness. It is usually consumed plain, but it can also be combined with baked sweet dishes, custards, mixed salads, teas, smoothies, or ice creams. 3. Ikan pepes. Ikan pepes is a dish that is prepared by covering an entire fish, or sometimes pieces of fish, in banana leaves. The fish is completely covered with a spice paste that generally consists of ingredients like turmeric, tomatoes, palm sugar, shrimp paste, candle nuts or macadamia, lemon basil, lemongrass, tamarind, and chili peppers. It is then gracefully covered with banana leaves, and the prepared combination is left to steam or grill. Once done, the dish is then eaten in the leaf, and traditionally served with lime or lemon wedges on the side. There are several variations of ikan pepes that can be found across East Timor and Indonesia, but the most widely consumed variation is called ikan pepes mas, which is prepared using carp. 4. Immerse. Immerse is a spicy chili that is prepared all across East Timor, with local variations depending on the household. Usually, red or green chilies compose the majority of the paste. Thai chilies are typically used for the preparation of the sauce, and it can be excessively hot for several people. It is typically combined with other ingredients such as garlic, red onions, balimbi, ginger, lime or lemon rind, and several other regional ingredients. 5. Bibingka. Bibingka is a kind of baked rice cake that is made in a terracotta oven lined with banana leaves. The main ingredients used are water or coconut milk and glutinous rice, galapong. The other most commonly used ingredients for this dish include butter, grated cheese, muscovado sugar, salted duck eggs, and desiccated coconut. Bibinka is normally consumed for breakfast or as a mid-afternoon snack, also known as merienda, particularly during the time of Christmas. There are several variations of the dish, including bibinkang malakit, cassava cake, and salukara. It is believed to have originated in both the Philippines and Indonesia. 6. Feijoada. Feijoada is a stew prepared with beans, pork, and beef. It is normally accompanied by rice and mixed sausages like morcella, blood sausage, chorizo, farinera, and several others. It has a strong and somewhat salty flavor, although not spicy. The name of this dish is derived from feijão, which means bean in Portuguese. Feijoada is known to have shared origins with Brazil, Angola, Portugal, Macau, Cape Verde, Mozambique, Guinea-Bissau, Goa, and São Tomé and Príncipe. Feijoada is a festive dish, and it is traditionally consumed on Saturday afternoons or Sunday lunch. 7. Ikan sabuco. Ikan sabuco is a dish prepared using Spanish mackerel. The mackerel is initially marinated in tamarind paste and then grilled with chilies and basil for an extra kick of flavor. It is generally accompanied by a budu sauce that helps to bond all the flavors together. Budu is a fermented anchovy sauce that is combined with some calamansi juice, sliced red onions, and red and green chilies. Other ingredients can be added, such as cherry tomatoes and mint leaves for additional flavor. Arts and crafts. Timorese are very creative with their unique style and workmanship. Their most famous handicrafts are ties, traditional hand-woven fabrics, many of which are sought by serious collectors. Ties are produced in different colors and designs depending on the community where they are made. Other attractive arts and handicrafts include finely woven baskets and mats, paintings, pottery, jewelry, dolls, and intricately embroidered bags, musical instruments, metal knives, and wood carvings. Locally purchased arts and crafts make a wonderful gift and can be readily sourced from handicraft shops, roadside stalls, and at local markets throughout Timor-Leste. One of the joys of traveling in the districts is when you come across local people creating beautiful items such as weaving caneware, working a backstrap loom, or carving figurines. Events, festivals. Timor-Leste has many celebrations commemorating the country's recent independence as a nation and important religious holidays. Then there are cultural festivals and important sporting events, showcasing the warmth and beauty of Timor-Leste. Joining in is a fun way to meet Timorese and to find out more about this country. Easter celebrations. Dates vary every year but are normally around March-April. As a 90% Catholic country, Easter is widely celebrated here, and these dates are some of the most celebrated national public holidays. Expect to see processions, services, and religious celebrations for nearly a whole week, including on Palm Sunday, Good Friday, and Easter Sunday. The main celebrations on Good Friday normally start with a pilgrimage to some religious site on the top of a hill in each of the Timorese localities, and big family gatherings and events take place these days. Restoration of Independence Day, 20 May. Timor-Leste celebrates its Restoration of Independence Day on 20 May. This day has special importance to the people of Timor-Leste because of the long, bloody, decades-long conflict it took to finally achieve independence in 2002. On 20 May 2002, Timor-Leste became the first new sovereign state of the 21st century, joining the United Nations and the community of Portuguese-language countries. Proclamation of Independence Day, 28 November. November 28th is Proclamation of Independence Day in Timor-Leste to remember the country's freedom from Portuguese rule in 1975. On the eve previous to Independence Day, many attend masses at cathedrals and churches. On the day itself, there is a presidential inspection of the troops at his palace, followed by a flag-raising ceremony. The soldiers who defend the nation are honored, and then follows a party that lasts till about 4 in the afternoon. At that point, there is a flag-lowering ceremony to end the festivities. The cities, and especially Delhi, become busy, with day festivities such as cultural events, sport competitions, and culinary events accompanying this festivity. Timor-Leste Coffee Festival, 1419 October 2019. This yearly festival and competition take place in Dili every year. It is the first major event held by the recently formed Timor-Leste Coffee Association, Associação Café Timor, or ACT, that supports the development of the Timorese coffee industry. In addition to launching a coffee quality competition, the festival includes training for baristas and roasters domestically, cultural celebrations, and training and education to support coffee quality improvements to promote market interest for international exports. Met Ramelau Pilgrimage, March and 6th to 7th October yearly. The mountain is also known as Tatamailau, meaning grandfather of all, and has cultural and religious significance that bring together pilgrims from all over the country during all year round. In 1997, a statue of the Virgin Mary was erected on top of the mountain, and there are 2 times a year when a bigger pilgrimage takes place to the top, in March and October every year. From 6 of October afternoon, people start to climb up to the Mat Ramelau, and Mass is held on the top of the mountain till 7th morning. Dili International Film Festival, 2-6 October 2019. The inaugural Dili International Film Festival, DIFF, will run in 4 venues across Dili over 5 days, Oro 2, Oro 6 October 2019, and host film premieres, feature-length and short films, both narrative and documentary, with international and local contributions. In 2019, Timor-Leste commemorates the 20th anniversary of the referendum for self-rule, a time to look back and to the future, within and outwards. A film festival is a celebration of storytelling, offering a window to the world, as well as an opportunity for locals to tell their own stories.